It was an ordinary afternoon when I dropped my 4-year-old daughter, Emma, at her usual tuition center. She was excited about her lesson and waved goodbye as I watched her enter. I was about to leave when I saw her walking toward the door again, a confused look on her face. Before I could react, I heard a loud bang. Emma dropped to the ground, her little body crumpling in the most terrifying way. My heart stopped, and I rushed toward her, only to see the unmistakable sight of blood. "Mom!" Emma cried, clutching her legs. I knelt beside her, holding her tightly. The pain in her eyes was unbearable. Looking up, I saw her assailant, HOA, Karen. This woman had been a persistent nuisance in our neighborhood, always causing trouble with petty complaints and obsessing over the most ridiculous rules. She was standing there, staring at us coldly, her hand still holding a gun. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. "What the hell did you do?" I shouted, feeling the rage boil inside me. Karen didn't speak, her eyes darting nervously. That's when it hit me she hadn't known who I was. She had no idea who she had just shot. I pulled out my phone, dialing 911. "My daughter has been shot. Send an ambulance immediately." I was calm, but fury was building inside me. As I waited for help to arrive, I looked directly at Karen. "You made a huge mistake," I said. "I'm a federal judge, and you just shot my child." Her face went pale, her eyes widening with recognition. The power behind my words was clear. She stammered, dropping the gun in shock, realizing she'd crossed a line she would never come back from. The authorities arrived moments later, and SWAT was already on the way, responding with lightning speed. Karen was arrested without a word, her shocked face reflecting the severity of what she had just done. Emma was rushed to the hospital, and while the injuries were serious, she would survive. I knew this would change everything for our family, but for now, I could only focus on my daughter's recovery. Karen, however, would be facing charges far beyond anything she could have imagined, thanks to a federal judge who wouldn't back down. At the Montgomery Police Department, Celeste sat silently in a holding room, still in cuffs, her posture composed but her eyes sharp. The sterile walls and flickering fluorescent lights didn't intimidate her, they irritated her. She had fought too many wrongful arrest cases to be surprised. What caught her off guard was how recklessly the officers had acted. No Miranda rights, no due process, just muscle, suspicion, and ego. Officer Daniels stood outside the door, chuckling with Carter as if they had just finished a routine traffic stop instead of arresting the state's highest-ranking legal authority. Inside, a young clerk named Mateo was logging the evidence when he noticed something odd. He picked up the ID the officers had tossed on the desk. His eyes widened. "Wait, this can't be right." He scanned it again. Celeste Morgan, Chief Legal Counsel for the state of Alabama. Mateo's hands trembled as he darted to the duty sergeant's office. "Sergeant Lewis, you need to see this, now." Lewis took one look and blanched. "Oh my God," he whispered. "Get her out of that room. Get those cuffs off now." The air shifted. Suddenly, officers were scrambling. Daniels was paged and told to enter room. "Ma'am, we may have made a mistake," he mumbled as he fumbled with the handcuffs. Celeste raised an eyebrow. "A mistake? You didn't even check my ID." She stood up slowly, brushing off her blazer. "What exactly was your probable cause? Driving while black in a Tesla?" Daniels turned red. Before he could answer, Sergeant Lewis entered. "Ms. Morgan, please accept our sincerest—" "No," she interrupted. "Save your apologies. Your department will be hearing from my office by morning." Her voice was calm, but firm enough to shake the walls. She picked up her ID and walked past them without another word, leaving behind a trail of stunned silence. They had just arrested the woman responsible for reviewing their department's legal conduct, and now they had made her case for her. Celeste didn't go home. She went to her office. By nightfall, she had already prepared a full report to the governor, filed a formal complaint with the Department of Justice, and gathered video clips from onlookers who had recorded the incident. The footage showed everything: her being yanked from her car, her ID on the ground, and the officers ignoring her calm explanations. One clip showed her court badge shining clearly on her blazer as she was cuffed. Another caught a bystander shouting, "That's a lawyer! Are y'all crazy?" Within hours, the footage hit social media, and by morning it exploded. News stations picked it up, reporters knocked on her office door, and hashtags like hashtag wrongfully arrested and hashtag justice for Celeste began trending. People were stunned that such a high-ranking legal figure could be treated this way. But Black Americans weren't shocked. They were outraged. If this can happen to her, what chance do the rest of us have? One viral tweet read, Celeste held a press conference at noon. The room was packed. She stood at the podium, poised and collected. Yesterday, I was unlawfully detained and publicly humiliated by 2 officers of the Montgomery Police Department. Not because I broke a law, but because I fit a profile. This wasn't a misstep, it was a reflection of a system that routinely devalues Black lives. Reporters flooded her with questions, but she didn't need to say much more. The videos said it all. People from across the nation reached out. Civil rights attorneys, judges, even a few retired police chiefs. Meanwhile, the Montgomery PD was silent. The mayor issued a generic statement calling the incident regrettable, but Celeste wasn't interested in regrets. She wanted action. And now the spotlight was hers to use. Inside the Montgomery Police Department, panic had taken hold. Chief Henderson, a man known more for his loyalty to his officers than his accountability, was forced to cancel meetings, delay his vacation, and face the firestorm. He held a press conference but stumbled over his words. "We are conducting an internal investigation. I can't comment further at this time," he said. The press wasn't buying it. Neither was the public. Daniels and Carter were placed on administrative leave. But it wasn't enough. Protests formed outside City Hall, led by attorneys, law students, and families who had experienced similar injustices. Celeste didn't organize them, but she didn't stop them either. She knew now wasn't the time for silence. She met with lawmakers and began drafting legislation requiring implicit bias training, mandatory ID verification protocols, and civilian oversight boards for all police departments receiving state funds. Her initiative sparked conversations statewide. Local news shows hosted panels. High school students wrote essays about her. Churches held forums. The governor, seeing the political storm brewing, publicly endorsed Celeste's reform bill and called it a moral necessity. Within the department, some officers defended Daniels and Carter. They were just doing their job, one said on camera. But others quietly, anonymously expressed guilt. "We've all made assumptions like that." One said, "She just happened to be someone with power." That comment stuck, because the truth was clear. If Celeste hadn't had her badge, her status, her calm resolve, what might have happened? 3 weeks later, the Montgomery City Council unanimously passed the Morgan Accountability Act, requiring all law enforcement agencies across Alabama to undergo annual training in bias prevention and civil rights law. The bill included penalties for departments with repeated profiling complaints and required all officers to verify identities before any arrest was made. Officer Daniels resigned quietly. Carter was reassigned to desk duty, and Chief Henderson, facing public and political pressure, announced his retirement. But Celeste didn't celebrate. She remained focused. Her mission wasn't about revenge, it was about ensuring no one else would face what she did. Her office established a legal hotline for citizens to report unlawful police conduct. Within the first month, they received over 400 calls. One evening, Celeste was invited to speak at a local high school. In a crowded gym, she looked out at dozens of young Black students watching her with wide eyes. "You may be underestimated," she told them, "but your voice, your rights, and your presence matter. Never let anyone treat you like you don't belong. Stand tall. Know your worth." As she walked off stage, the principal whispered, "You're changing this city." Celeste smiled. "No, the truth is changing it. I'm just not letting it be ignored anymore." She had entered that precinct in handcuffs, but walked away rewriting the law itself.